From FingerLakes1.com, I'm Josh Durso, and this is Inside the FLX. Our program today begins when former Seneca County Judge Dennis Bender announced that he would be leaving his post in 2018. Out of that news and subsequent retirement, 3 candidates appeared and will go before voters in Thursday's primary. District Attorney Barry Porsche, former District Attorney Donna Cathy, and local attorney David Ettman will all be on the ballot. Cathy is our guest this hour as all 3 candidates visit the program ahead of the primary contest on Thursday. Donna, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Josh, for having me.
So why are you running for judge? What is that core reason that inspired you to say this is the right time? This is when I want to go before voters and make a run at this.
Yes, Josh, I firmly believe that public service is the highest calling that a person can have. I have the qualifications, the experience, and the long-standing community involvement necessary to ensure that justice is done in our courtroom. I also have a lifetime of experiences with ups and downs like most Seneca County residents have that will provide me with a firm and strong base to be a fair and effective judge. If elected as judge, Josh, I will be fair and impartial. I'll be an independent judge, a judge that listens, truly listens to the people and the situations with fairness as I preside, but also without fear or favor.
So how do you add that the personality to the race itself? What about your experience? Obviously, serving as district attorney puts you in a fairly unique batch. Obviously, a lot of people might think that that's the natural progression, but not always the case. Why is that experience in particular important as you now head into this race?
Josh, that experience is important for actually a number of reasons. It provides a significant insight to we have a judge that's a multi-bench judge in Seneca County. And what that means is that our judge listens to all of the cases, criminal, family, surrogates, and others that come into the county court. Unlike some other courts and counties where they have a specific judge that might do one type of case, right. Ours does them all. So the experience is critical in the areas that consume most of the court's time. It's undisputed that family court is the court that takes up most of the time of the judge. Second to that is criminal court. My experience as the prior district attorney, serving 2 4-year terms from 1994 to 2001, provides me with the experience in the criminal aspect of things to effectively handle those types of cases for the people of our county. I also served as an assistant district attorney prior to my election for 5 years in St. Lawrence and Onondaga counties as an assistant that focused on the prosecution of sexual assaults, domestic violence, and child abuse cases. Those are issues at that time, back then, Josh, they weren't necessarily issues in the know, in the public, of concern on the news every night. They were significant issues, don't get me wrong, but people didn't talk about them like they do now. Mm-hmm. And I had that long-standing background in pioneering aspects of those issues during a time when it wasn't really popular, because I believed in those issues, and I still believe in those issues. In conjunction with that, as the district attorney of Seneca County during the time that I was the DA, it was considered a part-time position. And what that meant was there were no benefits, there were no vacations, that type of thing. But I made a promise to the voters of Seneca County. I went door to door then, just like I did now, and I have to say there were a number of people whose doors I knocked on this time for this position who I recognized and recalled, and they remembered as well that I had been there that many years ago knocking on their door. So we had a lot to talk about in that regards. But beyond that, the position was considered part-time, and I have to say that I am very proud of the service on behalf of Seneca County that I provided in that position. It was a difficult time. There were minimal resources and a lot was going on. Crime was on the rise at that time. I had an office where I had to provide the furniture for that office.
Right.
I didn't have an investigator. I didn't have a car. It was hard to keep assistants because the pay was not really that good, so it was hard to keep them there. But I made that commitment to the voters. I committed to do the job and to make it a professional office. That was a commitment that I made. And I am proud to say that I fulfilled all of the commitments that I made to the voters, not only to serve my 4-year terms out, but to make that office a more professional and effective office for prosecution.
Do you think one of the aspects that's sort of lost on some voters, or some of those who might not be as plugged into the whole court system as you might be, the administrative side, how much of that is actually the job? Do you think there's a lack of appreciation for how much work has to go into being a judge, and it isn't just being in a courtroom and sitting and presiding over cases? It's a lot of administrative work in between. Is that something that you've thought a lot about, heading through, obviously collecting signatures and talking to folks?
Yes, I've looked at that issue, of course, and I agree with you, Josh. We turn on the television set and we see, Judge Judy or whoever the judge of the day is. I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you, because I don't necessarily follow those programs myself in particular. However, I know a lot of people do, and that seems kind of, I don't know, maybe glamorous to some extent to some people. But the job of a judge is very serious, and those programs, to some extent, make light of that aspect perhaps, and don't get into that aspect. So yes, there is a lot of things that a judge has to juggle, especially in a multi-bench county, and look at and be prepared for and be able to continue to move forward the wheels of justice in the county. So there is a significant amount of being able to transition, not only from hearing criminal cases to the same day or within an hour hearing family court cases to hearing the next kind of cases, but to make sure that all the cases are moving forward and that justice is being served in the county.
Sounds like you're saying that you're the best candidate to balance all of those different responsibilities and different expectations for the job, right?
Yes, I do feel that I have the background as well as the education and longstanding community involvement to balance all of those. Let's look at the overall picture here from my background in history. I've been in the position as the district attorney during that time. I also was very actively involved in our community, and I remain so. I've been a very active community member for over 25 years since I've lived in this community. And I'm not talking about in name only, Josh. Right. I'm talking about instituting important programs, working hand in hand with the leaders of our community as well as our wonderful volunteers, because we have them here. And in Red Cross, on the Children and Family Youth Task Force, on the Task Force for Strong Schools and Strong Communities, on the DWI Committee, to serve on as a Scout leader for Scouts, to be a YMCA official for those that swim, to just name a few. And there's lots more where that came from. And the Red Cross certainly in implementing many programs throughout that. And I do have to take a moment, Josh. Today is 9/11. And I would like to say that, first of all, I extend a prayer to all of the families and all of those lost and everyone affected, which is all of us, by that tragic terrorist event and attack.
Now, one of the particular aspects about this race has been the need or the desire, I think, from the community to see a little more engagement from whoever the next judge is. Obviously, no discredit or challenge to what Judge Bender did over his tenure. He was a great thing for Seneca County, but the flip side of that is new face. It probably has to be a little more engagement to sort of create the next, what will be the next era for the county court system. Is that the case? And what do you feel like you're going to do or try to do to continue that community relation building, obviously, since it's so important to you?
Yes, Josh, it is so important, and certainly I have the highest regard and respect for Judge Bender. I've had the pleasure to work with him all of these years since he was elected, because that was also the first year that I was elected as the district attorney. So I certainly have the highest regard and respect for the job that he did. But you're right. We live in a different time now. And over the years, and not so many at that, to be quite frank, the family unit has changed. our understanding and perception of the family unit has also changed. And I've been a part of that change of educating the public and working on committees and in the community to help better our community, to make our community, just quite frankly, a place that we want to live, that we want to raise our children, that we want to retire in, and make it a place better for everybody. So in relationship to the position of judge, I already have a deep root, long-standing involvement with members of the community because I have, since my whole career, has been involved in trying to educate and help people to understand the issues so we can better effectively address them. I have delivered and educated across upstate New York on issues of elder abuse, child abuse, and domestic violence. These are the issues.
So, speaking of the issues, it may be a little frustrating for some folks. Obviously, a judge doesn't legislate change. A judge just administers rules effectively. So what have you been hearing from voters as you've been going door to door? What are the issues that are important to them in relation to the race, at least the ones that a judge can actually have some teeth with?
Yes, Josh. The biggest issue that has come in front of me when I've gone door to door, and it has been the issue of, wow, you're really personable. I can talk to you. You're listening to me. And that, I believe, is one of a number of things that make me stand apart from my opponents. I've been with the people of this county working toward these issues tirelessly with them to try to come up with solutions. And I have that in my background in history. And I believe that that is very important because our neighbors, our children, our families deserve to have somebody who truly listens, who truly understands the issues of our county, who has been there trying tirelessly throughout her career to address those.
So has this, one of the questions that's come up from our readers, the feeling that this race in some way, shape, or form, this primary contest has become politicized, or that it's become a little chippier than most judge races seem on the outside. What's your feeling on it, living it day to day? Because I got to think that you believe you're doing the right things and that the right moves are being made all the way across the board. And then, on Thursday, voters will make their decision, right?
Well, yes, that's true. Of course, in any time that you run, I'm not a politician, okay? However, our system of running and our system of running for judge is such that you have to run on party lines to be able to be on the ballot in November. I've been a Republican all my life. I believe that principles do matter. I have a lot of support, and I've seen it out in the community of Democrats and other party members. But principles matter, and that's I chose the lines that I chose because they are consistent lines. They match up with my principles and what I've been all my life. I didn't change them to run in this election. I'm not running on a line that I haven't believed in or haven't supported my whole life. So with that being said, I am not a politician, but I would like people to go out and vote. I need to have everyone understand. We all need to have everyone understand. This is a critical election. It's a primary election. A lot of people don't vote in primary elections, but it's a critical part of this process. And people need to be heard. And the only way they're going to be heard is by voting. So I could have chose what I consider to be the opportunistic and political thing to do, and that is run on every party line. But I chose to stand by my principles.
Now, are you concerned at all about, this is one of the things that I've been asking anybody who's running in a primary this year, concerned at all about turnout, given that it's going to be on what would be considered an odd day? An election on a Thursday is strange enough, but then the second Thursday of the month instead of it's a little bit odd. Are you concerned about what the turnout will look like on Thursday?
Anytime you have an election, unfortunately, you always have to be concerned about what the turnout is going to be. We traditionally don't have the turnout that I personally feel that we should. We have a right. We fought long and hard to have that right. We have the privilege, because we're Americans, to have that right. And I believe that we should be exercising that right on a consistent basis. I would like to see the voters put aside their apathy, sit back and say, wow, this is a critical election. It's a position that is going to have an effect on this community for a long time. We have many issues. We have the family issues, the drug issues. We have issues in crime. We have all of these issues that are important to every single one of us. No one is immune from the issues that go on in the community and what comes forward in the court. And if people don't make their voice heard, then they will not have a say. And it is a critical point in this election.
It's true. Got to get out and vote. So where can folks, last question for you, where can folks find you, whether they want to learn a little more about what your campaign is all about, what you're running on, or even if they want to shoot you a question and maybe ask you something about what's going on?
Yes, they can go to the Facebook page, Donna Cathy Judge, and there's opportunity on there to ask questions, to look and see my postings that have been there. I've been doing a lot of door-to-door and things along that line, so that would be the way to make contact in relationship to this. I would like to say one other thing, if I could.
Sure.
I believe that I stand apart from my opponents for many reasons. One of the reasons is that as the district attorney, I implemented many critical programs to effectively prosecute crimes. I started by centralizing that office for the first time ever, instituting a tracking system, forfeiting the proceeds of crimes in certain cases, and starting the Victim Witness Assistance Program. All of these critical programs, which I started a long time ago, I'm proud to say, continue on in the DA's office today. That sets me apart from my opponents in the sense of my real, true commitment to this community.
All right. Well, we really appreciate the time, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again after the primary.
Thank you.
Well, that's going to do it for us today. I'd like to thank Donna Cathy, our listeners, and of course, FingerLakes1.com for making this program possible. Keep listening, and until next time, stay tuned to FingerLakes1.com for the latest news, weather, sports, and more.